and he had been pulled from the sea half-dead by a ship operated by a German NGO. Louis's first language was Wolof, but he spoke good English, though with a hiss caused by a missing upper front tooth that had been knocked out in Tripoli.
"Hold on," she said to Hisami. "There are some men on the road out here. I recognize them."
She brought the car to a halt in a cloud of dust and turned round to see Louis and his companion running towards her, smiling and waving their arms. One had a phone in his hand. "What's going on, Anastasia?" Hisami demanded.
"These men I know are obviously going to the village. I'll give them a ride. They're perfectly fine. Don't worry."
She heard Hisami protest, but by now Louis was speaking to her through the open window and saying it was a miracle that Signora Anastasia had come along at just the moment they felt they could go no further. They had been walking for 12 hours straight and were out of water. And yes, they were going to Spiadino, so that his companion, Akachi, could take up a job as a baker, and Louis could maybe help out as a soccer coach and seek work as a carver of wood. There was a promise of a roof over their heads in Spiadino, now known as the Village of 100 Nations, and they felt blessed and hopeful about the future. As this all spilled out, she put her hand up to stop him.
"Hold on, I'm on the phone. Get in and I'll finish up with this call."
Speaking to Hisami, she said,
"Did you hear all that? It's nothing to worry about. I'll be at the village in half an hour, and then I've got a car later to take me to the local airport for the Naples flight."
"Let me know when you get to the village," said Hisami. She hung up and turned to Louis, who'd got in beside her. His smile had suddenly faded into a look of angry regret, as though she were about to compel him to act against his will. He put out a hand.
"Sorry, Signora Anastasia, but you must give the phone to me."
Jerking her hand away from his, she shouted,
"Are you crazy? I don't expect you to steal my things when I offer you a ride. Get the hell out now."
Louis looked hurt and, shaking his head, snatched at the phone again, while Akachi leaned forward and attempted to pin her arms from behind. She swapped the phone to her left hand and let the car jump forward, causing them both to be thrown back. Akachi struck the side of her head wildly, and Louis tried to wrestle the key from the ignition, but then took hold of the wheel as they charged towards the bank on their right and collided with it, causing rock and clods of dry earth to cascade onto the front of the car. He was cursing in his own language, and his eyes bulged with fear and aggression. He lashed out at her with a backward blow aimed at her face, but she ducked, and he missed. Releasing her seatbelt, she tumbled out of the door and ran up the track towards a black Mercedes van that had rounded the bend above her. She stopped and waved frantically at the van, but the driver seemed in no hurry to help her, even though it must have been obvious that she was in trouble. Her two assailants had climbed out with their backpacks, yet they weren't bothering to pursue her, nor, she noted in a flash, were they themselves making any attempt to escape from the Mercedes. About 50 meters up the road from her car, she stopped in her tracks. The Mercedes rolled to a halt, and two men got out and began to walk towards her. Both were armed, which for one brief moment reassured her, but then she threw a look at Louis and his friend and saw they were simply waiting by her Toyota, which had come to rest with its front mounted on a boulder. She glanced up the track again and saw the men had now raised their guns and were beckoning her towards the Mercedes. One spoke to her in Italian, using her name, but by the time she registered this, she had vaulted over a short length of crash barrier and was plunging down a slope towards dense scrub and a stand of stunted oaks some 50 meters away. Pursued by a small landslide of rocks and dirt, she dived into the scrub and dug into the pocket of her jeans for her phone. Desperately trying to regain her breath, she dialed Denis and ordered in her mind the details he would need to know immediately. Her position, roughly 20 kilometers north of a town called Prianzano, descriptions of the migrants and of the two men in the Mercedes. The call went straight to voicemail. She swore and waited for Denis to say, "Leave a message and I'll return your call as soon as I am able." She spoke calmly but urgently, saying she'd been targeted for kidnap and one of the Italians knew her name. She was still free and was going to try her luck along a gully that went due west from her position, but that might mean she would have to break cover for a few seconds.